VMworld Live. We're live here in Copenhagen. It is at VMworld 2010. I'm John Troyer, I'm your host. I'm here with actually Rick Jackson, our Chief Marketing Officer for VMware. We're going to introduce the conference and the live broadcast that we're about to do for 3 days. We'll be here for 3 hours every day of the conference. It is the ending of the afternoon here in Copenhagen, early morning in the US, so I hope everybody is tuned in. These videos will later be available on VMware.com. So we will be taking live questions from Twitter. I don't have my Twitter console up yet, but I got my guys, Luke and the guys are looking at it. So if you do have questions for Rick or along as we broadcast, go ahead and tweet them out at VMworld Live on Twitter. Well, Rick, thanks for joining us and thanks for kicking off our broadcast.
Thanks, John. It's great to be here.
So this is the largest VMworld ever, and a lot of people, including me, say it is the best. The energy in San Francisco and now in Copenhagen is high. The content is really good. People seem excited. The industry seems engaged. Can you talk a little bit about how big the conference is and maybe
Sure.
Some of your observations about now having been through San Francisco and now starting in Copenhagen?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, as you know, we had over 17,000 registered people for VMworld in San Francisco just a little over 30 days ago. And so it's great to come into Copenhagen this week and see that we've already got over 6,300 registered attendees, which represents over 50% growth from VMworld Europe last year.
50%. Wow.
50% growth.
Wow.
So it's amazing. You know, I really think it speaks to a couple of things. One is that, you know, our customers are continuing on their virtualization journey. They're continuing to adopt more of the technology, and so they're interested in other products that surround the core vSphere virtualization. And this is a great event to come talk to other people about what they're doing, listen to the speakers, go out on the show floor, talk to partners, see solutions, etc. And then I think the second thing is that we're really at this very interesting crux in our industry. You know, we're at this crossroads between, the theme of our show, virtual roads, actual clouds. We are in a shift or a transition that is happening in the IT industry. We are moving to a new era, which we call cloud computing. And virtualization is that foundation, that bridge, if you will, that's going to take our customers from the existing environments and existing data centers into this new world of cloud computing. And so this show, VMworld, really is kind of at the crux of that intersection of virtualization and cloud computing. So it's a great place to come get answers.
Well, so we started off actually the keynote this morning with a great video, and you can see it on YouTube. Everybody calls it the pizza video,
yes.
which was very well done, and it compares cloud computing to ordering a pizza. There's a pizza restaurant with very specialized equipment, but it comes to you, and all you have to do is order it. As we talk to customers and our partners, are people understanding what cloud computing is? Because sometimes the IT industry can get so hung up on terminology and fighting about what something really means in a true cloud versus not a true cloud. I mean, as you talk to CIOs, what are they saying and how are they understanding cloud?
Yeah, that's a good point, John. It's those nasty marketers, I'm telling you. Yeah, actually, you know, I think that, you know, we saw last year in 2009, a lot of the questions that we got about cloud really were trying to understand, you know, well, what really is cloud, and how do I know when I've gone from virtualization to cloud? And so there was a lot more emphasis on describing the what. I think as an industry in 2010, we seem to be more aware of kind of what are the attributes of cloud computing. So we know that it is pooled resources that are available on demand and delivered over the internet. I think we've finally gotten through the ridiculous notion that, you know, cloud is a destination, that it has to be off-premise. And it's neither on-premise nor off-premise. I mean, cloud computing is a state of computing. And that's really what we're trying to show with our customers is, you know, the technical term for it is called hybrid cloud, but we like to think of it more as it's open cloud computing. Okay. The ability for applications to move seamlessly between multiple cloud environments, whether on-premise or off-premise. That's the real goal. So I think that we've started to move from the what, and now the questions are how. How do I get there? What's the best path? Once I get there, does management change? What do I do about security? So we're kind of at the next layer of the onion, if you will, in the industry.
Well, I thought in the keynote, especially, we laid it out how some of the ways to look at it. Paul came out and talked about kind of these three layers of cloud and infrastructure, cloud and virtualization infrastructure, applications in the cloud and vFabric, and then end user computing. Is that so? That next layer of the onion, and again, are people starting to understand how these pieces work together?
Well, I think we're still in that discovery phase. What Paul's talking about and what VMware, the way we are approaching the technology or the architecture for cloud computing, is really thinking about it from moving from what is traditionally vertical stacks of infrastructure, from the application all the way down to the hardware. And in this new world, you have to start thinking about things completely differently, so orthogonally from the horizontal. And the best example I use when I talk to customers is when you deploy an application, traditionally you think about all of the infrastructure that's required for that application and what the target environment looked like that I was deploying to, all the way down to exactly what kind of storage subsystems am I using, what does the server look like, what's the network topology look like. Well, in this new world, and with the whole point of cloud being that it is dynamic and I can take applications and move them from cloud to cloud, I can no longer make any assumptions about what's underneath those applications.
Right. It's all abstracted.
Because it's all abstracted, exactly. It's running in my data center today, but tomorrow it's running in Colt's data center. Well, I can't assume what their infrastructure looks like. So I have to have this cloud application platform and applications developed to it that is loosely coupled to the underlying cloud infrastructure so that I can keep that application mobile. And then the job of VMware is to do things like create intelligence between the layers through policies and contracts so that I get an optimized environment while still maintaining that abstraction.
Now today we announced VMware VCloud Request Manager, and in San Francisco we had announced VCloud Director.
Correct.
So now that's an example of now the instantiation. So one more layer of the onion. Now that's actually how we're going to implement these pools of resources that are abstracted, pre-populated pools of network resources, of compute resources, of disk resource. And now with Request Manager, maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Some people, we do have actually the Request Manager team coming in right after this.
Great.
We'll talk about that, and also the vCloud Director, and then some service providers as well this afternoon. But maybe introduce a little bit now. That ends up being now some of the policy and workflow management on top of that, which is necessary for this.
One of the advantages of cloud, besides the economic benefit, is that cloud really does represent this notion of self-service on demand. When I want it, I can go grab some infrastructure, or I can go grab a platform for application development, even all the way to the level of software as a service. So with vCloud Director, we set up the environment to create secure self-service to a service catalog and deployment to a logical data center, whether that's on-premise or off. So all the constructs are there with vCloud Director to enable this more agile IT delivery. vCloud Request Manager, what that does is that keeps in mind that although we're trying to get to agility, although we're trying to get to self-service, we still have to worry about things like compliance in the enterprise. And so vCloud Request Manager puts in place that automated workflow to support the agility and self-service that we've enabled with vCloud Director, but do it in a way that I can manage and maintain the compliance inside my enterprise. So it's a great coupling together.
Now, we try to encapsulate a lot of these concepts. Another term that we've introduced in San Francisco is IT as a service. That seems very evocative to me. It turns cloud into a business benefit, an operational stance. It's something that to the people I usually talk to who are IT admins out there using VMware, that they start to nod their heads when I start to say IT as a service. Again, can you speak a little bit to how CIOs are looking at this, and especially everybody who's already in IT, how are their jobs changing when you now have these horizontal layers of service, and you can't really be just a storage specialist or just a networking specialist anymore. You have to be a service provider. Really.
Yeah, in many respects. And I think that's, the term IT as a service is not something that was born out of VMware. So it is a term that's been used in the industry. And that really is the notion, is that IT needs to think of itself as that ability to be that service provider to deliver infrastructure, platform, applications in a very agile, on-demand fashion. And that's kind of the notion behind it. Because at the end of the day, when we go out and we speak with customers, customers ask about, well, this cloud thing, cloud computing, tell me more about it. But I've never once had a customer say, well, what I'm trying to get to is the cloud. I need to be a cloud. Okay. So I think IT as a service is a bit more descriptive of the end state that customers are trying to achieve. And we've given it a very simple definition of optimizing IT production for business consumption. Really representing that it's not, we in IT can't just think about how services are created, but we have to start thinking about how businesses consume them. And nowhere is that more evident than in end-user computing, where users, not IT, users are changing the paradigm within business by buying their own devices and bringing them into the workplace and saying, this is how I want to access IT services. It's no longer about a PC and running Windows. I've got my own favorite device, my own form factor, my own interface, and so they're bringing that into the workforce. So we really want to help IT with that shift towards business consumption.
Yeah, it's not about servers, it's not about servers and storage, it's about users and the apps that they need to get to.
That's the ultimate mission statement for IT.
For all of us, yeah. So actually, when I've been talking to people about the keynote, both in San Francisco and here, I ask them, okay, what were the highlights? And over and over again, people have told me Project Origami. That was so evocative.
Project Horizon.
Horizon, excuse me. Over and over again, they've told me that. Their eyes kind of open. They start to get the smile on their face. So tell me a little bit about Project Horizon and as an example of exactly what we were just talking about in user computing.
Yeah. I think Project Horizon really represents a shift that's already happening. And as I talked about it, it's the fact that end users are voting with their own dollars to create that shift in the industry. The idea of the desktop PC has been around now for well over 20 years, and it really hasn't changed that much. But yet, the way we want to interact with services, the fact that more and more of the applications and information are available from the cloud, it's time for us to rethink the whole approach to how we work with end users. And our focus is let's not talk about it as desktop computing or the next generation desktop. Let's move the device to the side where it belongs, and let's put the user right in the middle, because that's what the focus is. How do we help those users consume those IT services in a secure way, but anytime, anywhere, any device, so that they are actually more productive at what they're trying to accomplish?
So one of the big, and I'm looking much forward to seeing a lot more about that. When we'll have desktop folks on Thursday, I believe, we'll have a huge end user computing section.
Oh, great.
So a lot of our community and customers, and actually the channel partners are a large part of our community as well. We have a lot of them here in the Bloggers Lounge here in Copenhagen, and we get along great. The partner community is really important here in the European segment as well, So now we're launched on VMworld Copenhagen. We're in day one. We'll be here for 3 days. In terms of takeaways, both for customers and now for the partner network, we have a great solutions exchange here with a huge number of vendors. I don't know, what would you like both partners and customers to start taking away from the conference?
Well, I believe that we're all here, VMware, partners, customers, for the same thing, which is how do we accelerate that transformation of IT to this new era? And the most important point about it, in fact, Paul actually mentioned this one time, is regardless of VMware's role, no matter what we do, this is going to happen in our industry. We're very pleased and very aggressive to be a part of it and to help try and drive it, but this industry is going to go through transformation. And it's not one company that's going to do it. So it's not VMware that is going to transform this industry. We're a part of a transformation that is occurring, and it's really the entire ecosystem working together that's going to accelerate that transformation for customers. Yeah. And to me, that's what this event really is about. It's 113 sponsors at VMworld Europe, 113 partner companies here talking with the same customers about IT transformation. So we're going to all work on this together.
Yeah, it's a great